Hmm.
That's fine. You could shout them out. You could promote them. Who is it? You making the tacos? Is it a
Oh God,
restaurant?
no, no, that would not be good. No, it's I have different taco places I like in Houston where I am. I like Taco Papi, and they have the birria tacos where you like dip them in the sauce and stuff. Fantastic. They're brisket
Oh,
tacos.
you got the messy tacos.
Hmm.
Ooh, ooh, and I heard Houston got some good food. I'm ready to come out there and eat.
Yes, please. You won't be able to leave. Yeah, the food is
Okay.
amazing.
Well, we trying to get up out of Florida, so Houston might be where it's at for
Mhm.
sure. So okay, we got the and what was the place called again?
Taco Papi.
Okay, Poppy, Taco
Hmm.
Poppy. So if you're in the
Hmm.
Houston area, Taco Poppy
Hmm.
is where it's at. So we got the tacos. So I was actually making homemade tacos. Me and my
Mm.
daughter went and got some we was gonna cut up some chicken and have
Mm.
chicken tacos
Okay.
tonight. But life was life and time got away. But that's okay. We
Hmm.
we just rolling with it.
Hmm.
So that's fine. We all good. We gonna talk about mental health. And April, for those of you who do not know, is Autism Acceptance Month. I
Hmm.
know they had switched up the language with that.
Hmm.
But before we dive more into that, I want to introduce Megan. I had the opportunity of meeting Megan at our Black Girls Social Club pitch competition.
Hmm.
And she was just talking about the work that she did around autism. And when I came up with the idea, and I was like, it's April. I was like, I have to get her on and for her to talk more about the work that she does. So you guys will hear more about that. But Megan Ashley is a licensed professional counselor supervisor in Texas. She provides a space where people can be their full selves and explore who they are destined to become. She focuses on empowering people to learn to better understand themselves. Megan Ashley received her MS in counseling and psychology from Louisiana State University. Okay, LSU.
Hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Shout out to LSU.
Hmm.
Throughout her career, Megan has worked with clients identifying, celebrating, and maintaining their authenticity. So, everyone, we have Megan. Thank you, Megan, for being
Thank
here.
you.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you
get
for
a little
having me.
sound for everybody, the clapping. And we're gonna work our way up to that. So, Megan, talk more about the work that you do. Tell us more about the line of work that you do.
Okay. So what I mainly do is I work with adults who are autistic or adults who are parents of autistic children because there is a deficit in the learning about autism, especially when it comes to people who are over 18. Autism does not go away after you become an adult. You just learn how to cope with it differently and do something that we
Mhm.
call masking, where you're pretending that you're fine when you're really not. And so more needs to be researched about adult autistics, more needs to be done for and with adult autistics. And I took it upon myself, other colleagues of mine too, to work with this population on purpose because there is such a big deficit in help. There's a big
Mhm.
deficit in understanding more than anything else. And I chose to work with parents of children with autism also because my own children are autistic, but also because most likely the parents of the children who are autistic themselves. So that whole Venn diagram of parents of autistic kids and autistic adults is a circle a lot of the time.
Mm.
Hmm.
Okay. So first of all, you're absolutely right. The thing you said was people think that when you're diagnosed as a child, when you become an adult, it goes away, and that's not what
Mm-mm.
it is. But I want to take it a step back. What is autism?
That's a great question, Jaleesa. Thank you for asking. I'm glad that I'm able to have this platform to talk about it because so many people are so misinformed about autism, especially what it looks like in adults, especially what it looks like in adults who are female presenting, and especially what it looks like in adults who are female presenting and a minority or a person of color, which is all of the things that I normally work with that population. So autism in and of itself is a different neurotype. So it's like
Mhm.
I explain it as like the Android or the iPhone. So we're not going to have a fight about which one's better. But what we're saying is that they're different. They work on two different operating systems. The
I
goal
like
is the
that.
same. They're both phones. You both have smartphones. You're doing stuff on them, but their operating system, their software or their hardware, I'm not really sure. I'm not techie. Somewhere about it is
Yeah.
different, right? And so that's
Right.
what we would call a neurotype. So someone who has a neurotype that is regular, or the one that is what most people have, they would be considered neurotypical. And someone who is neurodivergent means they diverge from the regular, the normal. And therefore we have people who are ADHDers, people who are
Mm-hmm.
autistic, even
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, OCD. All of those different diagnoses fall under
Mm-hmm.
neurodivergence. And so when we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
autism, it is a different operating system that people express their emotions and emotional regulation and control differently. It's a difference in sensory input and processing, and it's a difference in social communication. So those are the three big things that are different about people who are autistic versus someone who would be neurotypical. Now, notice I said different and not there's something wrong, because there isn't anything wrong. Autism is not something
Right.
to be cured. It's not something that we want to go away. It's a part of who people are. Autistic people are perfect exactly as they are. They're the same as
Mm-hmm.
everyone else. The only difference
Mm-hmm.
is that software, that processing system takes in
Right.
information and outputs
Differently.
information differently than neurotypical brains would do.
Right. Okay. So let me ask this because a lot of other ignorant questions that
Mm-hmm.
may come up is that person's not autistic because they can do this or they can
Mm-hmm.
do that. So can
Yeah.
you talk more about the spectrum, because some
Yes.
people may not realize that there's a spectrum when it comes to autism.
Yeah, that's a great question. People say on the spectrum. Now, in the autistic community, we're getting away from saying on the spectrum because
Okay.
of a lot of confusion that goes with it. The autism spectrum is not linear. It doesn't look like a line where you're going from a little bit autistic to a lot of bit autistic. That's not
Mm.
how things work. It's more of a pie chart. And on that circle, then you'll have what we call spiky skills. So you might have really high math ability, but you might not be able to tie your shoes. Or you might have really high ability for cooking or something like that, a different skill, but then you may not be able to pay your bills correctly. So it's about, most people have a neutral level of skills, like you're either smart or not so much. With autism, it doesn't work like that. Your spectrum is where you have different things that are really high and really low, and so that's what we're talking about on the autism spectrum. And so when we're talking about the diagnosis, what it used to be called was high functioning and low functioning, but that's not really helpful. And so they changed it to levels 1, 2, and 3, which is also not really helpful, but it's better than it
Right.
was. I mean, we're getting there. But the point is that you can have someone who appears more neurotypical, like you see them on the outside and they're making eye contact, they have a job, they're married, they have kids, they're doing all the neurotypical, the regular stuff, and you may look at them and say that they're high functioning, but as soon as they get home, they fall apart. Or throughout the entire
Mm.
day, they're fighting so hard just to appear with this mask on of normalcy. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why the high functioning and low functioning labels are so harmful, is because somebody can appear to look like they're doing everything right, they're doing all of the stuff, but internally they are struggling. And then when they start struggling externally is when other people notice.
Right, right. Oh, that's big.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's a way because I always hear like, okay, they're on the spectrum, they're high functioning, they have
Mm-hmm.
Asperger's
Mm-hmm.
as they call it, and the low functioning. So how do individuals go about being diagnosed? Because
Mm-hmm.
some people be like, oh, they're on the spectrum. And
Yeah.
it's just like, I feel like that is, first of all, stigmatizing as
Mm-hmm.
well. And it's an insult to those who are on the
Mm-hmm.
spectrum. And it's just one of those things that people say as a, to dismiss their behavior instead of like really
Mm-hmm.
diving in and
Mm-hmm.
understanding what the person is, experiencing, things like that. So how do
Yeah.
people even go about finding, I don't even want to say getting the diagnosis, but
Mm-hmm.
seeing if they're on the spectrum?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. First, before I answer that, I want to talk about how people like use that as kind of a dig, like, oh, that person's on the spectrum. And that's part of the
Mm-hmm.
reason at the beginning you were talking about how we switched from Autism Awareness Month to Autism Acceptance Month. And what we're going towards now is Autism Appreciation Month instead,
Oh, okay. Let me
because
write that
it
down.
becomes less stigmatizing. We don't want to just normalize autism. We want to celebrate autism as a neurotype and as something that somebody has, that you have strengths and struggles when it comes with autism. We're not saying it's all
Mm-hmm.
rainbows and puppies, but we're also not saying, like it's a superpower or anything. It's part of who you are. It's just as
Right,
real as anything else would be. And so we need
right.
to accept and appreciate autistic people for who they are, because they do have strengths that they bring to the table. And it
Of
doesn't matter
course.
like if they're like Sheldon Cooper, Rain Man, kind of whatever. That doesn't matter. We're not going to categorize them as like useful to society or not useful to society, and
Oh,
therefore
for
that's
sure.
how we're categorizing low functioning, high functioning, or whatever. Everyone has
Mm-hmm.
value just because they exist, with all
Right,
people.
for
So when
sure.
it comes to getting evaluated, there are a couple of different things that you can do, but the first
Mm-hmm.
thing is if you
Mm-hmm.
think you're autistic, self-diagnosis is valid in the autism community. If you go
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok, which I know in the therapy community, TikTok is a thing, right? So if you
It
go on
is, it is.
TikTok, a lot of therapists are just like, don't diagnose yourself on TikTok. But the good part about TikTok and Reddit and Instagram, people like that who are creators who are autistic, you can kind of see yourself in them, in their experience. You can find similarities to their experience. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times it makes you feel like you're less alone, because you think you've been experiencing these things on your own your entire life. You think you were weird or different or broken or whatever it may be. And then you go and you click on a TikTok video and they're explaining your entire childhood word for word. So then if you're
Right.
looking at that, those things that those people are doing, those creators who are giving us this information, is better information than what's in the DSM when we're talking about diagnosing. And it's better
Mm-hmm.
information, especially for autistic adults, because there hasn't been very much literature around autistic adults or research around it.
It's
It's
true.
still very new for people to be talking about, I found out I was autistic at age 50. It's very new, like
Right.
in the last 50 years new. And don't get me started
Mm-hmm.
on if you happen to be a person of color and a woman, it's even newer than that. So finding
Right.
these
Right.
people on TikTok is so important to the autistic community, because they're saying, this is who we are, this is how we identify. And if you have these
Mm-hmm.
things, then maybe you might be autistic too. And it's giving adults a way to start the conversation with their providers, with their doctors, and things like that, that we did not have before at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
it's
And it's
very
definitely
important.
something, and it's definitely
Mm-hmm.
something that's not talked about as well, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, especially in adults
Yeah,
as well. And I
especially
and
in
I see
adults.
that a lot
Yes.
with, clients that I work with or that I see, come in and, my offices and things like that and where I work. And it's just like it's something because I see even people like saying like they're making excuses again for the
Mm,
behaviors of
mm-mm.
adults and kids, and it's just like they're like, oh well, everybody, social media,
Yeah, that's
blessing and a curse,
yeah.
because you see that they're like, oh, they're making excuses
Mm,
for their behavior, or that's not autism, and what is this
mm.
and what is that, and it's just like it's now something that has a name to it, I
Yes,
would say,
and
and it's
giving
being
people that
right.
validity, giving them that validation. Because I compare it to a disability that you and I both have. We both wear glasses. I have to wear
Mm-hmm.
glasses in order for me to see. If I don't wear glasses, I can't drive a car, because nobody wants me on the road without my glasses on. Okay, like I would be hitting
Right.
everybody and everything. So it's part of what we use. This is a combination that we would use in order for us to get around. If I was in class as a child and I sat there and I was struggling to read the board, I was struggling to understand what was going on in math because I could not see it, nobody would bat an eye when it says, go get your eyes checked and get glasses for this accommodation. So when they do it with autism, that's the problem that I have with
Mm.
it, is that they're saying, oh, it's an excuse for the way that you're acting and the way that you're doing. You wouldn't tell me that my glasses are an excuse to be half blind. You wouldn't say
Right.
that, right? You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say anything to somebody who has diabetes and they need their insulin. You wouldn't say anything to somebody who had a cane and they needed to walk. We're not telling them, hey, straighten up your spine and just walk, get it together. You're not making an
Right.
excuse for not being able to walk. It's the exact same thing. Autism is
Mm-hmm.
biological. It is within
Right.
your brain. You were born that way. So for you to tell people that is just an excuse is not only insulting and ignorant, it's just hurtful.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Can I add one of the saying, and I don't know, I kind of agree with it, because one of the things that you mentioned is like the Android and the iPhone, and how it functions differently, and everybody processes things differently. But wouldn't you say, like, we all as human beings, we process things differently and at our
Yeah, everybody
own.
processes things differently, but that whole everybody's a little bit autistic. That's also concerning, especially in the autism community. That is
I've
something
heard
that
that.
yeah, is really it's harmful because it's almost like diminishing, it's diminishing that neurotype. So it's kind of like saying somebody who has panic attacks, you tell them, well, everybody has anxiety. Okay, but theirs is debilitating. Theirs is keeping them from driving, keeping them from working, keeping them from doing things. Theirs forces them to struggle in ways that a little bit of anxiety won't. So saying the same thing of everybody has a little bit of a vision problem. Okay, but if I don't wear my glasses, I'm not allowed on the road. Okay?
Right.
Because as soon as I
See,
run
do
over your
things.
child, we got a problem. Then you want me to put
Right.
my glasses on, right? So it's
Right.
about not diminishing that neurotype, saying, well, everybody's a little autistic. Other people are quirky. That's true. But we're talking about the three tenets of autism. If you don't have the social communication issues, the emotional regulation issues, and the sensory issues, then those are all what goes into being autistic. You can be quirky and not be autistic. You could be a little weird and not be autistic. You could have sensitive hearing and not be autistic. You could only like eating chicken tenders as an adult and not be autistic. All of those things don't mean that you're autistic. What we're looking at is where do you fall within those three things and how does that make up your neurotype of autism? Because
Okay.
once you have that neurotype of autism, we figure out that that's what's going on with you, then we can figure out how you can best live authentically in this world without hurting so much, because it's a world
Right.
that's not built for you. It's too loud, it's too bright, it's too all of these things, you know?
Right, right, right. And I like that. So even from there, going to like the next step of someone talking with their doctor or being assessed, how would they go about being assessed to see if they have ASD? I'm sorry, autism, which is
Yeah, that's
also
another thing. They don't like the
ASD.
ASD. We ain't saying ASD anymore
They
because
don't
it
like ASD.
automatically, you know,
Okay.
well, and it always changes too. So you got to kind of stay like on top of it. Things change minute to minute in almost any community. Same thing
Right.
with the cluster B community and how they want to be referred to, eating disorder community and how they want to be referred to. You know, we do CEUs all the time, continuing education. We're always having to be brought up to speed on what's current right now. And so currently, autism community does not like ASD because it
ASD.
puts
Okay.
disorder at the end. So instead of
Yes,
saying
autism
I'm
spectrum disorder.
autistic, yeah, it's saying I have autism spectrum disorder, and autism people do not feel disordered. So that's why the ASD thing. So you're asking about how to get diagnosed. So if you're a kid, it's easy. Well, I'm not gonna say easy. It's easier to get diagnosed as a
Yeah.
child because you go to your pediatrician. Somebody would have noticed you were struggling outwardly in some way. Unless you're a girl, then a lot of times you get passed on, and people don't realize you're struggling because you're just being quiet or you're just like really sweet, and they don't realize that you have this internal anxiety going on because girls are socialized to kind of tuck that away, right?
Right,
So
right.
if you have an outward issue, something that is going against the norms, and therefore someone's noticing, you go to your pediatrician, they give you a referral to a psychologist, they go do the testing, or you go through your school, your parents get the special education department to do the testing for you, all that set. The problem is that once you become an adult, all of those things are no longer in place. You can go talk to your general practitioner and say, I think I'm autistic. And they'll be like, oh, okay. Well, you didn't get diagnosed as a kid and you just gave me eye contact. So I don't think you're autistic. But a lot of general practitioners are so behind on the literature and the research on adult autistics that they do say those harmful things. And they make people feel like that they don't have validity to what they're saying. And so a lot of them will say things about eye contact, which is not an indicator of autism. It's a myth at all.
Right.
Now, can people who are autistic have issues with eye contact? Yes, but that is not the main indicator for telling if somebody's autistic
Right.
or not.
Right. That's not
So
one of
then,
like the symptoms
nah,
or anything. Gotcha.
that's old
Okay.
school. Again, we got to stay up. We got to stay abreast of the new
Stay up to
information. Yeah, because
right.
it's
But
all coming
hey,
out.
some people don't even realize what autism is,
Mm-mm.
and what it
Which is
is. So
sad. Like in my
Mm-hmm.
my program, love LSU, go Tigers forever. But in our program, when I was getting my master's, we might have had one slide on autism on one of the days where we talk about an intellectual disability, but we never talked about autistic adults. Because even when I got my degree, oh, how old was I? 2012, when I got my degree. When I got my degree back then, it still wasn't like being talked about of adult autistics. Again, it was like you grow out of it, but you don't grow out of it. You just find
Right.
other ways to cope, and you
Hope and
struggle
deal
in
with it.
silence. That's what's happening.
Mm.
And so autistic adults got tired of struggling in silence. So in order for them to get diagnosed now, my advice is to go to a neurodivergent affirming provider. And you can find those on websites like ND, the letter N, the letter D, therapist.com, and they have them listed by state. And so these
Okay.
people on this website, they're people like you and I, LCSWs, LPCs, LMHCs, LPCAs. There are people all over the states, all over the 50 states, who are claiming to be neurodivergent affirming, meaning they understand neurodivergence and they work with
Mm-hmm.
neurodivergent individuals. And also, most times, the people on those websites, the therapists who work with neurodivergent people are neurodivergent themselves, and so they will say that also, like, I'm a therapist and I'm autistic and I work with autistic clients. So it's something about that lived experience, understanding from inside
For
the house. It's
sure.
all coming from inside the house, so that
For
you know
sure.
you're able to relate to your clients and able to understand them. That's a great place to start. Is ND therapist. Start there. Find a provider there
Okay.
in order for you to
Okay.
get tested. So I do autism assessments in Texas. So I'm not a psychologist. I don't do full battery of testing like ADHD and everything else that goes with an intellectual disability. But if you think you're autistic, you can come to me and I can give you the battery of autism tests, which includes like a lengthy interview with you, with a family member or a friend if you would like, some collateral information. We do other questionnaires and assessments, and then we bring together this picture of self. We're looking at who you are as a person, and then we're comparing that against autistic traits, not just the struggles, but also the strengths. And that's very important
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of adults who aren't outwardly struggling, they do display the strengths and they don't even realize that that's what they're displaying. So things like
Mm.
pattern recognition is a big thing in autism. They might be able to be that person who you can't watch a movie with because they already know how it's going to end 5 minutes in, because they have that pattern recognition. They know what's going to happen. They know who the killer is in
Right.
the movie, and they get
Certain
on
things are
everybody's
moving.
nerves because of it. Autism could be, just saying, you know. So that's
Right.
people who have gotten this far in life without showing the struggles. A lot of times they show the strengths, and they don't have a problem until the struggles show up,
For
until they
sure.
can no longer take it. Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, one of the things you said was you can, they can come and you
Mm-hmm.
guys do a battery of autism
Mm-hmm.
tests. Did I say it
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So do they have to be in Texas to receive
Yes.
that service?
From
Okay.
me, yes. So it is based off of where you are licensed. So same thing as therapy. You know, we're licensed in certain states.
Certain
You're in
states.
Florida and
Okay.
Colorado, and I'm in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can only do it where you're licensed. Now they do have
Okay.
places like Neurospark is one where that's a psychologist and she has a team that's licensed in just about every state now. Julie Landry, she's awesome, and they do virtual assessments all over basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just
Okay. And
have to
that's
give them the
NeuroSpark.
NeuroSpark.
SPARK. That's
Mm-hmm.
spelled right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna drop these jewels,
Okay.
in the chat so people can
Yeah.
see those, as well as have access to this information as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so another thing I wanted to ask you, because you're full of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
with this, and there's things that you do. You offer courses and a
Mm-hmm.
workbook, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I offer a course for parents of autistic children to understand your autistic child. So not just to make them behave and not to quote unquote fix them, which is what a lot of other therapies for autistic children consist of, but what autistic children need are parents that understand and care and treat them like human beings. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just really sad that when children get a diagnosis of autism, they don't get handed this handbook. The parents don't get a handbook about how to help your child, how to discipline if discipline is needed, because sometimes children need discipline and structure, how
For
to
sure.
relate to your child, how to communicate with your child, and more importantly, how to understand their wants and needs. So I saw this hole that we had between when you get your diagnosis from the doctor, like the doctor says your son, your daughter, your child is autistic, and then for you to go get the testing done, and then for them to start whatever therapies they get. No one hands you the handbook saying this is how you do autism parenting. This is
Mm-hmm.
how you figure it out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so again, I'm a parent of two autistic children. I'm autistic myself, and so I chose to write out this course for parents of autistic kids. And it's more of a this is how you could do this, and these are the results that could come of it based off of the things that I've researched, I've learned, I've taught, and I've experienced. My lived experience goes into that workbook. My heart and soul is in that workbook because I want it to be this is the last generation of autistics that feel broken when they get here. I want this to
Mm-hmm.
be the last time anybody is told your child is autistic and the first thing you say is I don't know what to do. That's my goal in life, is to make sure that the next generation, their parents are well prepared. They're like, oh, I already know the book I need to get. I understand this. This is not a death sentence. This is not saying my child won't do this, that, and the other. This is not saying they're going to have behavioral issues. It's just telling me about how their brain works. So that's my goal, is
Mm.
that this is the
I
last
love
generation that
that.
that's happening.
I love that. So it sounds like you created the book
Mm-hmm.
to help parents because, like you said, you get the diagnosis and then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what
What
next?
next? Yeah.
Like, okay, yes, you have the neuro because they go when
Neurotype.
you the
Mm-hmm.
neurotype they
Mm-hmm.
have therapy, some go to
Mm-hmm.
ABA therapy, there's different
Mm-hmm.
things like that, but then it's like, okay, that's all great and they may act a certain way when they're
Mm-hmm.
in these services, but what about when they come home? Like, how do
Yes.
I manage that as a parent? How do I
Yep.
manage that in public and
Mm-hmm.
things like that?
Yeah, that's exactly the different chapters in the book. We talk about the toolkits that you and your child can create so that you can make every space that you're in an autistic space for them. Because again, this world is not built with them in mind. But you, as a
Mm-hmm.
parent, you get a choice to build their world with them in mind for them
Oh,
to
I
be
love
comfortable.
it.
You know,
I
that's what the
love
whole book is
it.
about, is really understanding your baby and giving them everything they need. Because autistic parents or parents of autistic children, a lot of times they just feel so helpless because it's like, what am I supposed to do? And so
Right.
I had the same question, so I answered it.
Mm-hmm. Love it. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book, are there resources for parents that
Mm-hmm.
they can do for themselves and how to take care of themselves once
Yes.
they have the routine
Mm-hmm.
and everything with their
Yes.
child down?
Self-care is so important. I say it all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a big chapter in the book about it. If you're not taking care of yourself, then your child cannot trust you to take care of them because they
Mm.
need you. You are their lifeline to the rest of the world. You are their advocate. You are their cheerleader. You are their person. And
Say that
because
one more
they're
time for the
autistic,
people in the back, Megan. What? You can't say it one
I'm
more time
saying
because I don't think the people in the back heard you. So take care of yourself or your child
mhm,
can what?
they cannot trust you to take care of them.
Come on now.
If
That's a
you
word.
can't regulate your emotions, how are you supposed to teach them how? If you
Mm,
can't keep yourself together, how are you supposed to get them together? So if they no longer trust you to take care of them, then they feel like it's their chance that they need to go and make their own needs met. So that's when we see the kids at school just wilding out, having all of these behaviors because they can't trust anybody to help them. Everywhere they turn, it's a brick wall. You're supposed to be their safe space. You can't be their safe space unless you find a safe space for yourself.
that is so true. That is
Mm-hmm.
so, so true. And that's for
Yeah.
parents on all levels,
Yes. Worldwide.
everyone. But
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And people don't
Oh.
talk about that. When they hand you that baby in the hospital, they don't tell you that it's going to be rough. They don't tell you that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have some nights crying yourself to sleep. And they don't tell you
Mm-hmm.
that you have a responsibility to get yourself together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They just like, here, take the diapers. And they don't
And
even
that's
tell you to
it.
take the diapers.
Mm-hmm. Take the diapers, do the milk, all that stuff. But nobody talks
Yeah.
about the emotional turmoil you
Mm-hmm.
go through when you're changing from personhood to parenthood. That's a huge deal. And then if we're going to add in autism on top of that, to where you may be autistic yourself and you don't realize how what I call autism tornadoes happen. When you're autistic and your child is autistic and y'all start tornadoing against each other, yours is you're sensory sensitive and they're sensory seeking. They're jumping off the couch while they're screaming, and you're crying because you can't handle the noise. Like, it's just too
Yeah.
much. So when your autism's tornado, what do? A lot of parents cussing, fussing, fighting, sending the kid to the room. It's just too much. We're on medication. We're doing this. We're doing that. It's a lot. They need help, and that's what the
Yeah.
book is about.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is amazing. How do we get our hands on this book?
Okay, so the actual physical book is coming out in 2 weeks. I'm very excited about that, but the course is already out. You can take the course.
Okay.
I love the course because it's very experiential. So you can go onto my Instagram. It's in my link tree at the top of my Instagram. It's on my website at imperfectconsulting.com. So letter M,
Okay.
perfectconsulting.com. And the course is
Okay.
really cool. Also because it has all of the worksheets that I made throughout
Mm-hmm.
for you to follow along with me. So you start at the beginning of the workbook as a beginner, you end as a pro, so that you can use this workbook
Mm.
multiple times. Every time your child goes through a different stage of life, because the teenagers, whoo, yes, once you get to the
A
teenage
different
years,
breed than the toddlers.
yes,
Yep. Let's see how
toddlers,
we can.
teenagers, preteens, we got different behaviors throughout. So the book is supposed to follow you throughout your child's lifetime, because every time you're up against something new, it gives you the steps on how to evaluate what's going on with that behavior and how you can respond to it in an affirming,
Mm-hmm.
strength-based way. So it's not saying, we want them to behave. That's not what we're doing at all. What we're
Right.
saying is, I need to change me so that this whole situation changes.
I
We don't need to
got
fix
you.
the kid. You got to get it together.
Right. Right. Because the kid ain't the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. For sure. So I'm gonna see how we can get this locked in so people can see.
Mm-hmm.
Drop your Instagram name. I know we
Okay.
friends, so let's see how we can, tell the people your Instagram name as well. And we're gonna see if we can get that locked in so people can have access to it and know where to click and access the course. And now anybody can access the course.
Uh-huh. Anybody can. You can access the course. There is a fee for it because capitalism, but you can access the course. And you can pay for it. And then if you would like to, because I've had some families do this as well. Instead of doing the course, they want to do parent coaching instead. And so that one is
Ooh.
not state specific. I can parent coach any parent in any state, in any place. And if you want me to go through the program with you and help you work through it with you and your child live, like we're going to do it over Zoom, then I can do that too. And those resources are on my website as well.
Okay, so there's the course,
Mm-hmm.
there is the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So is it coaching only parents of children with autism, or
Mm-hmm.
is it coaching also adults who experience autism as well?
So it's coaching parents who have children with autism or autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
For the adults, I do
Autistic children.
therapy. Yeah, I do therapy for
Okay.
the adults, like just regular old therapy. And also the assessments are for the adults.
Okay, so there's no coaching opportunities for adults.
No, not coaching opportunities for adults. It's more we have groups sometimes where other autistic adults like get together in a group, and we call it adults adapting to autism. So it's other adults who are newly diagnosed, and they're trying to figure out, with this new information I have about myself, how do I integrate it into my life? And so that's very important, because once you learn that you've been autistic your whole life, you start to look back on all those memories and be like, oh, that's why that was. And you
That's
have
what it
this flood
is.
of memories. You have all these feelings about your parents and why they didn't notice, and how the system may have failed you, and how things could have been better. You have a whole process, a grief process, when you go through getting an autism diagnosis. Not grieving because you're autistic, but grieving because you struggled so much in the past and nobody knew. And so we
Right.
have groups a couple of times a year that we do that. Right now, I'm working on a second website. It'll be out by Friday. And so it's called Adapting to Autism.com,
Mm-hmm.
adapting the letters TO to autism.com. And it's for adult autistics, and it sells the toolkits that I help people make for themselves to make their world autistic. So the same way that I teach the parents to make toolkits for their kids so that everywhere they go is autism friendly, adults get the same thing. It's just adult
Mm.
type tools that they can have so they can be comfortable wherever they are.
Nice. And do they have to be located in Texas to
Mm-mm.
receive that service, or is that
Nope,
anywhere?
that's worldwide. Anybody can purchase the toolkits.
Nice. Oh my God, this is amazing. So
Thank
this
you.
all this information is it's just wonderful. Like,
Thank
first of all, thank you so much for even starting the conversation. And I say
you.
starting because again, there's a lot of people who are not aware of autism
Mm-hmm.
and how to communicate and talk to their loved ones, or just classmates, friend, whomever,
Mm-hmm.
of somebody who is autistic.
Yep.
And it's something that is coming up a lot now
Yeah, because a
in the
lot of
world.
adults are recognizing that they've been autistic the whole time. Like people are
Mm-hmm.
saying autism is this new diagnosis and everybody's got autism. The problem is that your grandpa had autism, your great great grandma
Mm-hmm.
had autism. The people back in the caveman times were autistic too, but nobody
Mm-hmm.
knew. So it's not a new
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's just the recognizing of it is newer. Like you look
Mm-hmm.
at the people who have rock collections, eat the same thing every single day. They're 80 years old and they do the same routine all the time. And they won't go talk to people or go out to parties and
Mm-hmm.
things like that because they're super uncomfortable with social stuff. Once you start really digging into it, you realize how many people that you know are actually autistic. It's
Right,
a lot.
right. And a lot of famous people
Yeah.
too who are
Uh-huh.
coming out and saying things
Mm-hmm.
about it too. And that's why I say, because there was one post I had seen, I can't remember whose post it was, but I seen the nasty post, and they were just like, what everybody, oh my God, what did it say? And it just bothered me so much. They're like, what is autism? Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
autistic, and like, what is that? They're just making an excuse. And again, it's
Mm-hmm.
ignorance. So
Yeah.
that's why I just love that we're able to have conversations and educate people,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. And
And
you can't be mad at people.
willful ignorance exists. Some people don't want to be educated, but for the people who do want to be educated, I mean, it's out there. Listen to
Mm-hmm.
autistic individuals, listen to autistic adults. They know what they're talking about. Listen to them when they're telling you about their experiences. It's important.
Mm. That's big. That's
Mm-hmm.
big. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I want to leave the people wanting more. I'm asking Josiah, are there any questions? Again, this is our first time, so
Mm-hmm.
we can't see any questions, but that don't mean there ain't questions
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yes, give me 1 second. I'm going on different platforms.
Okay.
And seeing if there's any questions. Again, Megan, I know you dropped your information in the chat. Can you say it
Mm-hmm.
again for the
Yeah,
people
sure.
who are listening? And then I'm also gonna post all the information that you have given us and graced us
Thank
with,
you.
so people can know how to check you out and also connect to those websites. So if you
Okay.
can say your Instagram and your website again and how people can connect with you.
Okay. My Instagram is at the letter M, Perfect Consulting. That's the Instagram. And then the website is the same, imperfectconsulting.com. You can find me on Psychology Today under my name, Megan Ashley. Inclusive therapist. I'm on the indie therapist directory too. If you're looking for autism adults and a Black lady, it's usually gonna be me. If that's who you're gonna find. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, but that's
Mm-hmm.
sad as well.
It
Like
is.
the
It is. And as much as I love the indie therapist website, Amelia, the woman who is over it, she's amazing. She's fantastic. I'm so thankful that it exists. I was the
mm,
second Black person to be on the website in the entire 50 states.
mm, mm.
In
Oh,
in in 2024.
wow.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm. And we
Yeah, we got to
exist.
get
There's
this
so
conversation
many.
going.
Exactly. There's so many Black autistics, Black ADHDers, Black just Black people, we experience the same things that other people do. It's just the stigmas in our community a lot of the times don't allow us to speak openly about it. So I know I'm not
Mm-hmm.
the only Black autistic woman in the country. I know that because I do assessments on Black autistic women
Okay.
all the time.
Right, right.
But
It's a
it's just that
conversation you have to have.
visibility. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
And I
want
love that you
a
have the
go ahead.
group.
Mm-hmm.
No, I
Yeah.
just love how you have the group, and I can't wait till you. I know you're kicking it off
Mm-hmm.
soon, so I can't wait for you to get that out there and more
Yeah.
women to come forth and say, oh my God, I've been experiencing that as well. Because like you said,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in it, you may not understand what you're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. You know, you think something's wrong with you, you're all alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start speaking up about it. And then
Yeah.
it's like, wow, I'm not
It's not
alone.
just
There's other
me.
people that experience that. So I love that you have that coming out. And I cannot wait
Thank you.
to hear more about it and see it for sure. So Josiah just had your information up
Mm-hmm.
as well. So everyone connect with her. She's amazing.
Yes.
And is the course, I want to go back because can the course can somebody take it just to be knowledgeable and
Yeah.
find out more about
Mm-hmm.
it? They don't have to be autistic or know anyone who's
Mm-hmm.
autistic. It could be more so for education purposes as well.
Absolutely. I say that because some parents have kids who are autistic and then they have some who aren't autistic. And so the question is that a lot of parents ask, can I use some of the techniques that are in the course with my non-autistic children? And it's absolutely, it's really just
Mm.
understanding the blueprints to behavior. It's called the Blueprint to Behavior course. It's understanding the foundations of behavior, why people do the things that they do so that you can understand them even and especially when they can't tell you. So that's why it's
Mm.
so pivotal for a parent to be able to understand what their child wants and needs. Because a lot of
Mm.
autistic children, they may be nonverbal.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big one too. So working
Yeah,
with that and finding out ways to communicate with
yeah.
them
And
for
autistic
sure.
adults, they have times where they go nonverbal sometimes too, where the words are just not there for you to access. And so if someone, let's say a spouse of an autistic person, they want to take the course so that they can understand their partner better, that works too. It's all about understanding human behavior and being able to treat everybody like a human being, understanding their
Mm.
motivations.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, Megan, thank you so much for your
Awesome.
time this evening.
No problem.
This has been wonderful. This has been amazing. I can't wait. I'm gonna check out the course myself because as you see, I'm a little behind on
That's
my
okay. But
my
that's the thing too.
terminology.
I'm coming out with a addition for clinicians because I do find so many of us just don't know. And with the uprising or the uptick in people who are being diagnosed as autistic, I get a lot of emails from other therapists. Hey, I'm not specializing in autism, but I have an autistic client. Can you tell me how to help them?
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. And I'm one of those because I'm a huge advocate for it. I know loved ones
Mm-hmm.
who are artistic, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like being able to not only communicate with them, but provide support
Mm-hmm.
of, their parents and loved ones. And we did a live last year
Mm-hmm.
with my sister-in-law, my daughter, Lord Jesus, my niece's mom,
Mm-hmm.
and my other big sis and her daughter, and we just talked about it as
Mm-hmm.
well, and it was wonderful. Again, it's something that's not talked about.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
even them bringing them back on because they want to get back on again, and even bringing you on to really just have continue the conversation. So we definitely will be in touch to all of us, really just come together and really create that safe space
Mm-hmm.
um for moms and dads and
Yeah. We're
caregivers
not supposed to
and
get the dads. Yeah,
adults.
all
No,
the
we not.
caregivers,
Oh, we
grandma,
not forgetting the
grandpa,
dads,
abuela,
grandma,
abuela,
grandpa. That's why I
everybody.
said
Mm-hmm.
everybody. We gotta come together. So again, I thank you. We're gonna post your information again so people can know to come to your website.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think we still streaming. We still good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So again, thank you
Question
everyone.
wise, question
Go ahead.
wise, let me see. I know someone had asked about providing the information as to where to purchase the book. So when that comes out, we'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely have that. Um, Parent coaching, someone said they'd reach out to you privately on your website.
Okay.
And then asking, was there a lesson that will help the parent help teachers, or rather share or partner
Ooh,
with teachers?
Mm-hmm.
that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that is because our kids, even though we have them at home, they're at school more than they're at home a lot of the times. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the language and the tools and things that you learn in the course, I would bring it to the teachers. Again, my kids are both autistic, and so I bring a lot of these things to their teachers, like, hey, this is what works for them. Like here we have the STAR test, which is like standardized testing. Every state has some type of standardized testing. And my kids' teachers' questions were, what would help them that you've noticed at home that would help during standardized testing? And so we get that into our ARD meetings. All of this information of how to understand your children enough to give their teachers information to is also in the course. So it's all transferable to every person, every adult that touches their lives.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever offer to go to schools and like train
Mhm.
educators on
Yeah, I do it all
like,
the time. I love doing that because
yeah.
a lot of teachers, they don't understand autism and they don't get it on how to help a child that is integrated into general education. Like if you're not a special education teacher, they don't really teach you a lot about autism when it comes to,
Mm-hmm.
in your teaching career. Same as us therapists, we're woefully behind in
Mm-hmm.
having that in our education system. So I do go to other schools and have talks with the staff on how to help someone who comes to your classroom who's autistic. So you may have kids that are coming in for pullouts, pull-ins, some kids who are in completely in general education, or they're in special education in the inclusion classes and things like that. And it's just about how to understand the autistic thought process and how a lot of times autistic people are seen as being resistant, but autistics aren't resistant for resistance sake. They're not out here just trying to be mean. Their resistance is always to meet a need. And so, therefore, a lot of teachers, because, some people still rule with the iron fist in the classroom, right? And so they don't understand that thought process and they think they're being challenged. And so that's something that I talk about a lot with teachers is how to help yourself understand the autistic thought process so you're not in a power struggle with an autistic kid who's trying to correct what's on your board. They're not trying to call you
Mm-hmm.
out. They're not trying to
Right.
embarrass you. That's not
Question.
what they're
Right.
doing. They're telling you that there's something wrong on your board. Fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, not behavior or anything. And teachers don't, some teachers, I'm not going to say
Yes.
teachers, sorry,
Hmm.
teachers. Some
Love the
teachers
teachers.
don't.
Love
We
y'all.
love the teachers.
Yes.
I agree. Y'all all need a raise.
Everybody,
Um,
please. Yeah. But a lot of
right.
times, a lot of teachers just don't understand the autistic thought process. I recently did a talk at the Eating Disorder Recovery Center here in Houston to nutritionists, psychiatrists, therapists, and dietitians about the autistic thought process because they get kids and adults at the Eating Disorder Recovery Center who are autistic. And so we talked about
Mm,
how you, as a clinician who is not somebody who's specializing in mental health per se, but you are somebody who is working with the same population that I'm working with, what can you do to better understand them and better help them succeed? So I'm looking for all of
mm.
these pockets of people who touch autistics' lives so that they can get the same information. So again, this is the last generation. We ain't doing this no more. This is the last
At all.
generation where it's
At
not
all.
going to be normalized, understood, and cared for.
I love it. So school districts, y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Hit her up so she can
Please call
educate
me. I will
the
come out
district
there.
personnels.
Yes. I love
I
doing
love
that.
it.
It's so it's so rewarding because it expands the reach. Like if I can reach a teacher, that teacher can reach how many kids throughout their career. You know what I mean? Like we
Mm-hmm.
want to we want to send the ripples out, expand the
I
reach.
love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, this has been wonderful. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
again, Megan. Josiah, do we have any other comments or questions?
Nope. I think, yeah, that was everything that I see here. So thanks for answering those.
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
I'll put
Again,
your information back up.
Okay.
yes. So anyone you will need to reach out to Megan. Here is her Instagram, as well as her website. Feel free to scan the QR code. Megan, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
I'm
for
definitely
having
going to
me.
have you back on with my mothers of autistic children,
Yes.
to just bring on that conversation and just talk through their experiences as well a year later. Because again, we started this a year ago, and so much has changed in their lives. So I definitely want to bring you all back on and have this conversation, and again, bring awareness to the autistic world, and make sure that we're using that respectable language,
It's so important
for the world, because it's really, really important. So again, thank you for your time, Josiah. Thank you everyone for tuning in to our first Talk About It Tuesday. We were supposed to go last week, but we were having some issues. So this was the first one, and I think it went really, really well. So Megan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Just a few key points. So Hope Anchors the Soul is expanding, and we have our new website. Thank you to the wonderful Josiah. So we just launched our new website, and we're so thrilled. This is the first time we are revealing it. So go on and head over to hopeanchorsthesoul.com and check it out. We have the store up. And we also have the other Talk About It Tuesdays, and the guest, we have my good sis, Michelle Martin, coming on, and we're going to talk about mom guilt and spring cleaning that away. Yes, we are all guilty of mom guilt.
That's going to be a good one. I'm going to tune in to that one.
Yes, please do. That is April 30th. On all streaming platforms. To stay connected with Hope Anchors the Soul, we are on YouTube, Hope Anchors the Soul 1712. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and again, hopeanchorsthesoul.com. Another thing we have going on, if you are in the Palm Beach County community, juniors and seniors, April 26th, I am doing an event with juniors and seniors. As you all know, being a junior and a senior in high school, it's hard to really do that transition. So I am partnering with the organization, and I will drop that tonight as well, the flyer and everything for juniors and seniors to register. And it's just so much goodness going on. Oh my gosh, it is so much goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Congrats to you. Make sure you keep us updated on the website, and all that you are launching. And shout out to Josiah. Josiah, am I missing anything?
Thanks, Josiah.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I think that was everything.
That was everything. We good?
Yes. I pulled up the information for the junior and senior thing. I didn't know if you wanted me to share that.
Oh yeah, you can share that, and I'm also drop the flyer tonight for that. And y'all be tuned in for May. If you do not know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we have some amazing individuals coming on to talk about different types of mental health and mental illness and things like that. So you can catch this on the events page as well. So, yes, charting new horizons. So much going on. So this is all great. So Megan, I will get in contact with you about when we can do our next live, along with Michelle and Danielle, and bring other moms and invite other moms to ask any questions, and just really create a safe space for individuals to come.
That would be nice.
Yes. So thank you again, Megan, Josiah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You the man.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Josiah is amazing. He does all this, and he's a senior.
I do my best. Thank you.
And his best is amazing. He's a senior, so he's not only helping me, but he's also battling them books too. So shout out to you, Josiah. You are appreciated.
I appreciate it.
All right. So thank you all again for tuning in. If you missed the live, you can catch the rerun, the replay. Thank you again, Megan.
Thanks.
Have a good one.